the background of the topic and what is the purpose of the study. Okay, so the first one, the background of the topic is that English is a necessary language to be learned by everybody, because it's like the lingua franca of the world. Therefore, there were various studies that have been conducted to find an effective way for Malaysian students to learn that English better, to learn the English language better. Okay, so that is why this research actually explores the use of how humor is used in motivating and educating students to learn English. They want to study how effective using humor is in encouraging and motivating Malaysian students to learn the language. Okay, so this is the introduction. So this is the purpose. This is important, yeah? Okay, this must be correct. Okay, and then the literature review, there were 3 subtopics only. The first one is the importance of classroom environment. When we want to learn English, our immediate environment is very important. That is why the past studies covered the importance of classroom environment when it comes to learning English. Next, they also covered past studies that talks about humor being one of the important elements in language learning, and finally some past studies about applying humor in the second language learning classrooms. So 3 subtopics that were covered there. The first one, importance of classroom environment. The second one, humor being one of the important elements. The third one, application of humor in second language learning classrooms. So 3 things here. Okay, next is the methodology. Okay, so methodology for this research paper, this journal article, is that it uses a quantitative method. Okay, specifically a questionnaire that was adapted from Desi and Ryan's intrinsic motivation inventory, and there were 70 tertiary students who have participated in this study. Okay, so that's the methodology. So what is the ultimate findings? Humor does indeed bring about a positive impact in forming students' intrinsic motivation. So that is the ultimate finding. Okay, that humor actually brings about a positive impact. So it helps students to learn and to motivate them to learn the language. Okay, especially intrinsic motivation. So something that is innate rather than extrinsic, something that is internal. So it helps it helps bring about a positive impact in terms of intrinsic motivation. So that is the finding. The conclusion is, again, it may provide benefits in learning language, English, and the limitation is that, or recommendation is that, the limitation is that they just study it from the student's point of view. So the researchers recommended that we also look into the views and perceptions of teachers and lecturers. What do they think about applying humor in the language learning classroom? Okay, so this is the recommendation. Whatever that I highlighted must be accurate. There's no second answer. Okay, this is the answers. All right, this is the answer, so it must be accurate because this is a summary, so there is a standardized answer. It is not like question 3. As long as you are able to justify, it's fine. Okay, any answers are acceptable as long as you are able to justify. Okay, question 2. I realized a lot of you only wrote 1 paragraph. I think it's because of the first AA review, the conceptual paper question that has kind of like skewed your perception on how to answer question number 2, because the first AA review questions that I asked you to do is actually a conceptual paper, so we cannot separate them into method and participants this way. So that's why it's only 1 paragraph. But if it's an empirical paper, there is a method, there is a participant. So you need to employ this method where you where you state the main idea. What is the main idea for this method? The method is that a quantitative method is used for this research with a questionnaire adapted from Desi and Ryan. Okay, the questionnaire collected results primarily from questionnaire. Okay, then you start to explain. Okay, remember you are supposed to analyze, yeah? So you are supposed to explain whether it's good or it's not good. Okay, whether you have to talk about the weaknesses and the strengths, or the weakness. If there's strengths, then you talk about the strengths. Okay, if it's the weaknesses, then you have to talk about why it's not good. Okay, so however, using a survey questionnaire is not reliable to determine the results. Therefore, a pre-test, post-test method to test their language proficiency or verbal exam results before and after applying humor is more suitable to determine the difference in applying humor in a classroom when it comes to English, to learning English. Okay, this one is example, how to make it better, your recommendations, how to make it better. So instead of doing just a survey questionnaire, probably we can do a pre-test, post-test. So meaning to say, before we apply humor in the language learning classroom, we want to see what is your score for English, maybe 70. So after I apply and teach you English using humor, after maybe 6 months or 1 year, I give you another test to see whether you score better or not. So this is a pre-test and post-test. Okay, we want to see whether there's a difference or not in the test scores. Okay, before applying humor, what was your test score? After applying humor, what was your test score? Okay, so this is a pre-test, post-test method. So you are giving a recommendation how to make the method of the research better. Okay, about participants, there were 70 tertiary students, right? So this is the state. Okay, you need to state the main idea first. Okay, then you have to explain whether this is a good is good or not, the participants that were selected, whether it's good or not, and then you need to give an example. Okay, so first thing is that there were only 70 tertiary students. Okay, you explain the sample size is relatively small, meaning it's not that good, and it might not be able to yield accurate, reliable results. A wider sample size may provide a wider range of results and improve the findings. Okay, so for example, the researchers can increase the number of participants from 70 to 300, so that is a better representation of the entire population. Additionally, by choosing participants who have specifically experienced humor in their learning themselves, the study is able to acquire definitive first-hand insight on how the humor on how hum on sorry on how the humor and how humor has aided the students in their second language learning. So instead of just picking everybody, we can also just pick people who have experienced humor before to give us better results. So there are many ways to improve, so it depends how you want to improve. You only need to give one example. I'm just giving you 2 examples for you to see what else you can write about it. If not, everybody will like, oh, sample size more, but there are other things that you can look into and write about. Okay, and if you talk about pre-test, post-test here, right, you can also talk about control groups, where you study one control group. If without the intervention of humor, how well do they do in their English test? Another one where a group of students where humor is incorporated in their teaching and learning of English, see how well their scores are, how well they do for their English exam. So you can also have this kind of examples or recommendation how to improve the research. Okay, so this is how you are supposed to answer question number 2. I've seen the work that you have submitted. I think is inadequate. Okay, so you need to explain and exemplify, state, explain and exemplify this way. Okay, for question number 3 it is an open-ended opinionated question. So I will not actually give you a standard answer. These are just sample answers. So this one, always seek out someone to confide in. This is the main idea. Okay, the reason, then so this one is state. Okay, the reason for this is because instead of choosing to repress their feelings and bottle it up, it will ultimately negatively affect the students' thinking, which can lead to poor mental health. So therefore, as an example, students who are facing problems at home can choose to talk about it with a close friend or a school counselor. So this is state, this is explain, and this is exemplify. So you do this. As long as it makes sense, the points are logical, you will be able to score. Unless your points are not very clear, it's not logical, then I'm sorry, you cannot score full marks. But as long as you have state, explain, and exemplify, then it's fine. Okay, so this is how you are supposed to answer your AA. Okay, specifically question number 2, because I can still see some people are not very sure how to answer this, so I'm showing you here today. I'm going to show you another one, AA Review 3. Okay, I'm going to show you another one. Where is it? There, this is AA Review 3. Okay, that I asked you to do. Okay, so far, okay, so now we are going to question AA Review 3 about stress and academic performance. Okay, so stress among users is deleterious and multifactorial. Hence, researchers intend to develop a scale to measure level of stress and its source among students. So a brief background and the purpose. Okay, to develop a scale of measure among students. Okay, so there were 3 subtopics: extensive assignments and examinations are major stress factor, academic expectations, okay, and stress among university students varies with level of academic confidence. Okay, so there were 3 main subtopics that were discussed in this journal article. The first one is the fact that assignments and examination is a major stress factor for students. Okay, academic expectations from parents and teachers are also another stress factor. And finally, stress among students, it varies with academic confidence. That means if you think you are good in studies, you are smart, then you have less stress. But if you think you are terrible at it, you are not doing well, then your stress may increase. Okay, so this one here, the participants are 100 students from Tanta University. Okay, 100 university students. Okay, they include 75 males. Okay, they use a Likert scale questionnaire. Okay, a perception of academic stress scale is a questionnaire. It's a 5-point Likert scale. Okay, and the survey was distributed through email. So this is the method. Okay, the methodology. The findings revealed that the 4 dominant stress factors, which are social pressure, educational requirements, academic self-confidence, and time restraint. So this is the major finding. They found out that students normally are very stressed out about will actually involve social pressure. That means people think that smart students should score straight A's, CGPA 4.0. So these are all social pressure. Okay, educational requirements. Oh, you want to go to Oxford, you have to score 4.0, you have to be top of your class. So these are all the requirements. Okay, so you feel stressed about it. Or I told you, oh, next Monday you must submit ABCD. It must be ABCD. Okay, must have 5,000 words, this and that. So this one also gives students stress. Educational requirements. I require you to record your presentation, to be in this, that. This is all educational requirements. Academic self-confidence. I think I told you this before. How well you think you are doing in this academic field. That means, are you smart? Are you doing well? Are you not good at it? You know, all this will affect your stress level as well. And then finally, time restraints. If I give you 1 month to do, then you have less stress. If I give you 2 days to do, then you have more stress. Okay, so it reveals that these 4 things are the main stress factors that affect university students like yourself. All right, you won't make the same mistake. Okay, so the conclusion is recommends actually the conclusion is same with the findings. That's why I didn't add in this one here. You can also add in this one here, because that is the conclusion. Okay, but it's redundant lah, so I didn't add. So I just talk about the limitations and the recommendation. Sample size is small. The author recommends that scale should be administered to different students in different educational and cultural settings. Okay, so yeah, and implement effective stress management strategies. Okay, so these are the recommendations put forth by the researchers. Okay, so now we are going to look into the The participants first. Okay, so this is state, the main idea. 100 students from Tanta University. Okay, they include, okay, this is the participants, this is state. Now it explains the researchers should increase the number of participants in this study as the sample size is too small. So this is explained already. Then you give an example. For example, the number of participants now is 100. They can probably increase it to 300 or 400 to 500 so that the results will yield more accurate. Will be more accurate, okay, as it is a better representation of the population. Method, this research utilizes a quantitative method, okay, so a 5-point Likert scale is an effective way to measure stress. So you talk about the good points, the strengths. However, a self-reported questionnaire that is sent by email may not be accurate or reliable because participants may not take it seriously while answering the questions, or they might not understand the questions. Hence, they are just answering the questions. They are just answering the questions just for the sake of completing the questionnaire. Therefore, this is your example of how you can improve. An interview with the participants will yield a better results. For example, researchers can conduct a mixed method research instead of just a quantitative method research by including interview sessions with the participants so that the results will be more accurate. Okay, so this is how you can improve. Okay, so this is participants. You talk about participants, then you talk about the method. So you use the state, explain, exemplify because they ask you to analyze. This one here, like I told you earlier, they are just asking you to summarize and you just need to include 5 main points. No need to explain, no need to give examples. So this is how you are supposed to do it. Okay, can understand? Any questions so far?